Monsieur le Président de
Mr. President of Bocconi University, Mario Monti, Mr. Rector, Gianmario Verona, ladies and gentlemen, the members of the teaching corps and academic corps, distinguished guests, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting me to take the floor for this opening ceremony of the academic year 2022-2023 of Milan Bocconi University. I'm really emotional and for what we have just heard by Professor Verona. And I'm so emotional also to see all the students who have come to participate in this ceremony. And I know that among them, 20 years ago, there was somebody young with a promising future, Mr. Luca Attanasio. Who would be later one of the youngest ambassadors in Italy, in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I luckily met him. I spoke to Luca Attanasio on different occasions before he was unfortunately murdered during a humanitarian mission in the province of North Kivu in my country on the 22nd of February of 2011. I remember this man as somebody very selfless who fought with courage for human rights and also for women's rights and the rights of the most vulnerable parts of the population and children, and for all people who are excluded from society, marginalized. He came to see us at Panzi Hospital on the 8th of March of 2020, accompanied by a delegation of the European Union to prove their support and their solidarity to our patients, to women and young girls who had been the victims of sexual violence. We take care of holistically, and we have done it for over 20 years in this armed conflict framework, which is imposed to us to try and loot the mine resources in our region, which has a lot of it. And I also remember somebody who was really committed to stop the cycle of violence and immunity in RDC, persuaded that there was only one possibility: peace. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to honor the memory of Ambassador Luca Attanasio, and therefore I am here with you at the university where he studied before graduating, getting his degree. I think that this meeting will give you more clarification on the fight that we try to carry out on the side of women and men within the context of justice and for peace in the heart of Africa, in RDC, a country which has been experiencing this big crisis for more than 25 years, where the worst atrocity take place on a daily basis in the shocking indifference of international diplomacy and the big media. They all write an abstracted version of a drama, because people like Luca Attanasio are exceptions in a world where the cynical approach of geopolitics often wins over the value that should be at the basis of our common humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, the rector has dealt with complexity. I wanted to talk about complexity and armed conflict, which has been carried out for over 25 years, and this armed conflict is taking place far from you, very far from you. It is a conflict where the body of women has been transformed into a battlefield, a conflict which is complex, because we fight to control mining resources, and notwithstanding, these resources cannot be controlled and could be controlled without destroying women's body. So it is about complexity because we are destroying our own humanity. So I'd like to start talking about our work at the hospital and at the Panzi Foundation, which is located in Bukavu, the capital of the province of Sud Kivu, which is close to Rwanda and Burundi. We are going to also talk about the big challenges Democratic Republic of Congo has to deal with to try and design some possible solutions to progress on the journey towards sustainable peace. Ladies and gentlemen, when we founded Panzi Hospital in 1999, our goal was to help reducing mother and child mortality in a region of the world, or to in a place in the world where giving birth is always a very serious danger for mothers and for children. However, during war, our first patient did not come to us for a cesarean. She had been raped with extreme violence collectively in public, and she had undergone some acts of tortures on her genital organs. So we thought we would have to deal with an isolated case. We have seen a plethora of similar cases reaching the hospital, and we have found out a new disease in the region, which was exported from the East, from the ashes of genocide in Rwanda, rape and sexual violence used as a war method. In the Democratic Republic of Congo and in most conflicts, modern conflicts all around the world, in particular in Tigray, in Iraq or in Ukraine, rape and sexual violence are increasingly used as a strategy of domination, of terror, and even extermination. So it's no longer a humanitarian crisis, it is rather a crisis of our humanity. So this war strategy is characterized by the fact that it is massive. We have seen villages where 200, 300 women were raped. And it's also methodical. It's a group committing the rape, and they do that in the same way, using the same method for humiliation, to create terror in their victims. So these rapes are systematic, because we have taken care at Panzi Hospital of children, but also women who are older than 80. And rape and other forms of violence are often perpetrated before the eyes of the members of their family and the community. So this war method is, of course, less expensive than conventional weapons, but it's really effective because it provokes huge sufferings, and it leads to the very same consequences that that one can see in the short, medium, or long term. So massive rape leads to massive displacement of population, which can be seen in a classic war, but also a demographic drop, the destruction of genitals of women, and the destruction of the social fabric with rapes that are public in front of their husbands, in front of their children. This destroys the social fabric completely and all the economic capacity of communities affected by that. So, ladies and gentlemen, to meet the needs of survivors, we have increasingly developed a holistic assistance model at Panzi Hospital, offering a package of complete treatment to our victims. So we have established the so-called one-stop centers, some places where our patients can find in the same place some customized treatment focused on their individual needs, with some medical and surgical treatments, but also psychological, socioeconomic, and legal assistance. And I would like to stress on that in the economic tradition, when women are humiliated, they are rejected by everybody. So there is a psychological and physical treatment, but this is not sufficient if she cannot be treated and cannot be healed, if she doesn't believe in herself and cannot start a new and normal life. And so we have this other pillar, which is the legal pillar on the patient's demand. So this global approach allows victims of sexual violence to reconstruct their life, to find their dignity again, and to turn their sufferings into force, into strength. And after some weeks or months of treatment and help, assistance, survivors can become independent. They become confident and confident, and we try to, we see that some of them become activists to fight for their rights and for the rights of children and their communities. So sufferings of victims are universal. When I see victims, you can see that all women use the same expression to express their suffering, their pain. It can be in Africa, in Ukraine, in Kosovo, in Latin America, or in Asia. The suffering is the same for all women, and this holistic assistance that we offer should be like that, so that this global accountability is recognized as a human right to rehabilitation for all survivors of sexual violence during war, but also in times of peace. Ladies and gentlemen, we started healing and treating the second generation of victims, rapes committed on children who were born after rape. After that, we realized that our work could not be limited to surgery rooms, and that we could not limit our work to try and mend the consequences of violence. So we started raise awareness in the international public opinion on how serious the situation was, and we tried advocate to deal and try to solve the main structural causes that are the engines of conflicts that are lasting in the east of DRC. And just to give you some more details and insights on the specific context framework of conflicts and of the situation in which the families of Congo have lived for decades, I'd like to share some elements that are crucial to understand the tragic situation of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Since the 90s, DRC was, of course, affected by aggression wars, repeated wars, cycles of conflicts that have led to a major humanitarian crisis where victims, women raped, and displaced people are millions. And so we see them today. So in spite of several peace agreements, war has never ended. Indeed, DRC has not been peaceful on the entire territory, and armed violence has continued in 5 provinces. So we are always in this armed conflict situation, and sometimes with international dimensions, as it is proven by the other aggression in North Kivu, from the coalition of M23 and the Rwandan Forces of Defense, threatening once again the national sovereignty and territorial integrity of our country. So we see that for 3 months, this strategic area was occupied by an armed group supported by a neighboring country. So we want to see how selectivity also works within the international community, because the war in Ukraine has highlighted how mobilization can be activated when countries decide to do that, and the daily life of millions of people suffering far from the projections. And the political solutions in the last few years have favored the sharing of power between the countries that have fought. And this is why violence has become one of the starting points to get to power and to get promotions. And also the process of mixing of rebel groups have contributed to integration of militia in the security forces and of defense in Congo. And we see, first of all, the exploitation and the looting of natural and mining resources. Indeed, war in DRC is mainly economic, and it is based on a large transnational crime where Rwanda and Uganda are the main actors and have been for 25 years, with the complicity of corporations and certain politicians and militia in Congo. And the culture of impunity for the most serious crimes feeds the repetition of conflicts and is therefore a very big obstacle to any attempt of finding a sustainable and durable peace. So justice has been sacrificed by all peace agreements, which is particularly shocking when you consider the scope and the seriousness of crimes perpetrated. Ladies and gentlemen, this short presentation of the dramatic situation of my country and of the Congolese population is an invitation to act. And hopefully I am in the right place to do that, because the time has come to break the cycle of violence and impunity, to try and have the country abandon this organized chaos, facilitating looting of resources, natural resources, and also to find a solution and choose between war and peace. Let me insist that we cannot go on saying that it's far from us. Anybody with a mobile phone, with a computer, cannot, of course, avoid shouldering responsibility for this crisis, because there is no mobile phone and technological devices without minerals that can be found in our country. And so this solution exists. First of all, restore security, implementation of transitional justice and the state of law, the consolidation of democracy through free elections that can be, of course, credible and organized in 2023, but also transparency, disclosure of about trade of strategic minerals. So it's important to restore security and ensure the state authority on the territory. So, of course, we have blue helmets working in the Chapter 7, and under the provisions of that, in the Charter of United Nations, the siege has not improved, of course, led to an improvement of the humanitarian situation in the DRC. And all this has led to multilateral cooperation, bilateral cooperation, and regional cooperation, and this proves the failure of the state of law. And this proves that this situation has not led to any solution. And this is, of course, linked to the dangers that we have seen, because we know that the countries that are part of bilateral agreements are also countries that have militia killing, raping, and destroying the economy in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Ladies and gentlemen, it's increasingly urgent for Congolese authority to reanalyze the security governance and regional diplomacy. We are confident that only a very profound reform of the armed forces of the DRC can contribute, can help improve security and achieve peace. This reform should, of course, involve our forces of defense and deal with impunity. And I would like to insist on that, because in this country we cannot shed light on the murder of an ambassador. This means that impunity and immunity is deeply rooted and there is no respect. So it's really important. Ladies and gentlemen, the Congolese population is waiting for justice, justice for the crimes of the past and of the present, and not only a precondition for reconciliation and peaceful coexistence in the region of the lakes, but also to consolidate the state of law, which is essential to have good governance, fight against corruption, endemic corruption, and create the right framework for investments. And it is not a coincidence. Solutions do exist. It is only going back to security, establishing a state of law and consolidating a democracy deserving this name, that the DRC can, of course, modify the economy of war based on the basis of suffering of communities and stop traffic linked to the extraction and trade, illegal trade of minerals. So after the framework has been established, this could lead to complete traceability of extraction sites, mining sites in the eastern part of Congo, traceability that goes up to the final users and when these minerals are bought by consumers in the stores all over the world. And when we buy electronic devices, the materials that are used to build the devices must be traced and do not come from areas where the body of women is used as a battlefield. We would also like to stress that Congo is not only a country complaining, it's also a country that is a solution for the rest of the world, thanks to its primary forest, which is the second vis-à-vis climate threats we all know. So Congo does have solutions when it comes to a reserve of the forest. And it's also very important in new technologies, as well as for energy transition. Congo plays a crucial role. We are indeed the main producers, and we have the largest reserve of cobalt, especially for batteries, and this also allows energy transition and new technologies. So it is important for us to invest so that these countries do not live in the chaos that takes place today. And considering the crisis in Ukraine, solidarity has been shown by states and international institutions which have mobilized quickly to to adopt sanctions and to provide humanitarian assistance, quality assistance. Media have dealt with the crisis 24/7, and at the same time, the situation is worsening for the millions of people affected by crises that are in the shade. And let me say, ladies and gentlemen, that this variable geometry humanism cannot last. Ladies and gentlemen, together we have honored the memory and commitment in DRC of Ambassador Luca Attanasio. He had well understood that double standard policies end up, of course, reinforces injustices between people and undermine the credibility of international diplomacy towards peace, stability, and prosperity. So I think that this conference can contribute, can help raising awareness in Italians about the situation of the Congolese population. And so it will lead Italy, the European Union, and the UN to mobilize and stop this circle of violence and impunity, and to respond to the need of making justice to the millions of victims in Congo. So our gratitude goes to all the actions that you will be taking to honor and to make the memory of Luca Attanasio last in time, and also to accompany, to help, as he told me several times, the Democratic Republic of Congo on the journey of durable peace. I count on you. I rely on you to do that. Thank you very much.
A nome di tutti.
In the name of and on behalf of everybody, I would like to heartfully thank the keynote speaker, as we have just done. Bocconi University has trained and educated a youngster who decided to serve Italy in its international relations. And that youngster then decided to serve the relations with the Democratic Republic of Congo. But one should at least say that he didn't do that conservatively, but rather trying to taking part in the hospital, as we have seen through the promotion of peace and development initiative. This is a providential, opportune circle, and thanks to Attanasio family you could also be here today to present and describe a reality that involves us in understanding it and also in taking actions to react to it. Bocconi University has several strengths. In the last few years, it has developed more and more in the study of poverty, of conflicts, in the study of the less fortunate areas of the world. And so I do believe that conditions are there so that rectors of Bocconi University can give a thrust to the faculty and to the staff to try and deal with scientific tools or these issues. Let me just say 3 very simple words that, in my mind, have underlined your speech: richness, information, women. DRC is a country that is too rich to be independent and happy. In its country and on its population, some very many hands, many greedy hands have been posed on their shoulders to exploit substances and information has not been given to the tragedies of Congo because it is not in the interest of anybody to provide this information that you have given us today in a very moving and militant way. And woman, we know that in all societies, but especially in African societies, women are guides of families and societies. And so these attacks and the fury and rage against women has been something that has devastated countries and societies. And you have explained to us also in a conversation last night with you that it is a civil and civic and political, of course, redemption. And this can only be possible through women's mobilization. So in all senses, you are the one who has been working and fighting more for this, besides raising awareness all around the world, as you, of course, have done with us today. And I do believe that we will follow you in the coming years. And I am personally convinced, and I have been since yesterday, since this morning, that you will play an enormous role at the summit, at the head of that country. The redemption of it could also transform the geographical and civil heart of Africa.
Grazie.
Thank you. Thank you for conveying all these messages of tragedy, pain, and suffering, but also hope and fire, flames for everybody to follow these issues in as many ways as possible. We have here some members of the Italian civil society, of the religious world, and I know that all of them know what the importance for Italy and for Europe is, what this struggle can be, the importance of this struggle for all of us. And so we want your battle to also become our fight. Thank you so much.
il ricordo di questa giornata.
And of course, the memory of this, remembering this day, does not require any physical elements. But you spend many days like this, and so to prevent you from forgetting about this day, this is for you. And also a big hug to Atanasio family. Thank you all.